Okay, yes, it is still Tuesday. This is still Trekland HQ version 2 for real, and we are live. Hey, did you think it was fake news, Star Trek? Today on episode 401 of Trekland Tuesdays live with me, Dr. Trek Larry Nemechek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47, and yes, everything Trekland, including TreklandTreks.com, your customized real life away mission somewhere across Southern California. Get in touch with me. Hey, we are back for another Tuesday of some sanity, clarity, and a bigger picture in all things Star Trek. Glad to see everybody here back with us a Tuesday. Boy, after two guests in a row, we're filling in this low Star Trek headline time with some other back to our soapbox, back to our theme show today. Really enjoyed having so many guests lately. It's just turned out that way. But something is going on recently. It's one of those things that kind of blips out there. People talk about it. It goes away. Some people don't know what to think about it. Others are caught with the new thing coming down the pike. There's not a lot coming down the pike right now, so maybe it's just a quiet moment. Everybody is busy. I mean, this is a good time for people, everybody from fans at home to clubs and meetup groups and pages and podcasts, watch it groups. Everybody's diving back in the franchise at different places. I keep thinking people are going to be diving into the later series because they were also fresh and new and maybe even controversial at the time. What was the crisis of the week there for a while? We've even got the book out now. Adam Kotzko was here talking about his book about the recent series, Late Star Trek, he called it. But there was some news recently that popped up, and I got to thinking about it. On one level, it made a lot of sense, even though it's yet to be confirmed by anyone. I'm not talking about scurrilous. Nobody's been fired and hired. But no, it's like the world is bigger than that. The old Toxic Tuber days, that was the joke, right? Oh, Alex Kurtzman's been fired and he's been rehired 97 times, 50 more than 47. But this particular recent story actually fits into talk about a big picture, like just about the biggest picture that's going on for Star Trek. That's what I want to talk about today. But of course, I do want to say hello to everybody. Hi to all of our regulars that are here in the chat. And if you have found us somehow for the first time, yay. Or if you're a long-time lurker, that's okay too. If you want to dive into the chat for the first time today, that's fine. I'll get to the chat in a minute. Today is a theme day. Today's soapbox day. So I'm going to do this first, talk a little bit, and then I will dive in intact. I'm not ignoring the chat. I'll be doing that. The veterans know this. We'll have a scroll back moment, and I'll actually go back and check it out. But if you are new, please say howdy to everybody if you haven't yet. We've got a great TTLers audience here. The chat box the chat log here is a great group. I will take specific questions, yes. And here's the thing. Now that we're on YouTube and monetized, slightly, what that means is the only monetization is if you want to slide a super chat donation over to me. That would be awesome. It just helps go in the kitty and helps us grow things here at Trekland, especially our Trekland live experiences, right? But if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you're there and know that you're going to see all the chat, all the comments, okay? Same thing as Twitch. If you're on Facebook only, you're only going to see the Facebook comments. So come on over, subscribe on YouTube if you can, and join us over there. You can super chat on YouTube only also. So thanks for that in advance. Yes, jump in. Let us know where you're coming from. What's the weather? What's the trek going on there? We're coming up. Long Island Trek is coming up this weekend, I do believe. Maybe I'll get there someday. But it's a smallish con, but very cozy, very informal. I'm waiting to see what happens this year with all the conventions, big and small, because I'll be at SoonerCon next month. Just got confirmation. I have a panel at San Diego, as we've done for probably the last over 10 years now. Comic-Con's coming up in San Diego, and then Trek Vegas will be after that. Almost a year from now, the next cruise will be happening. We'll see how that goes. That I'm getting back invited as a guest. But this entire year is going to be interesting to see what global, what national, international events are doing to fandom enthusiasm, to fandom travel. There's a lot of foreign travelers, foreign fans that either on the nose or even out of empathy, sympathy, that they're not coming to the United States because of all the hubbub about travel, about immigration, about some of the political things happening right now. And I know we seem to be wrapped up the last 10 years in a whole mega debate about, Star Trek isn't supposed to be political. Star Trek isn't supposed to be woke. It's supposed to be a fun adventure. Are you kidding? It's been political. It's been woke since 1966. And we have that going on. Okay. And then people say, well, I mean, there's social and then there's outright political. And these are all valid discussions. They're all valid points. I know how I feel. If you follow my socials, you know how I feel. But the point is that no matter how you feel, it seems so hard for people to understand. There is a world to this globe beyond our own bodies, our own little shells, our own little silos. And there's a world beyond our United States of America country. And you can't do anything about that. Well, there's things you can do, but they might be silly and pointless. What to me started as a little hiccup of a news story has reverberated out to include all of these, but whether we like it or not, has included all these larger than life news trends going on right now. I know, and some of you are sitting there going, oh, please bring on July and Strange New Worlds so we can have some actual Star Trek to talk about. Yay or nay, right? What I am talking about is the news story that broke in a couple of places. The one I saw was via Trek Central about, and here's the gist of it, and another animated series for kids, maybe even skewed younger than Prodigy was. No showrunner, but named Starfleet Scouts. A limited series, maybe 6 episodes. It's been a couple of weeks. But the big thing being, it was for YouTube. Now, it just kind of popped up. There was no studio confirmation. There was no studio press release. Biggest of all, there was no studio denial. It was crickets. Now, these are weird times. About the time, we've seen it with everything. About the time we think we see what the format is, about the time we see what the playbook is going to be about anything, either how to run a show, a series for Star Trek right now, or even how to announce and promote from the corporate side, from this network, from the studio. The network? What is this, Larry, 1978? From the channel, from the platform, about how to promote it. It's all blown up. Now, I mean, my head is still trying to wrap itself around Tawny and Justin Simeon's show, the sitcom, that it keeps evolving, apparently. In fact, I saw one thing published recently that said it was no longer a hotel workplace comedy, but now a recycling sanitation place. So look out, Richard Benjamin and Buck Henry. If you saw Cork, if they use the United Galaxy Sanitation Patrol, then somebody somewhere is still going to be a rights owner that might yell about that. I don't think that's happening. My point here, though, is this sitcom was unveiled at Comic-Con last year in San Diego so weirdly that none of us, we thought it was a joke. Aside from the fact the way it was presented, which was trying to be improv and be wacky and subtle and oddball, and it was so much that way that we thought it was a joke. We didn't get what was going on. Much less the bigger picture, and here's the key thing, of that is not the way official Paramount/CBS does things. We want the big PR splash. We want the coordinated stories in the trades and the major news outlets and media. All of it to be coordinated and big splash and no leaks and no. And yet here they were doing this on the main stage at San Diego with Alex Kurtzman sitting right there with them. Nobody was getting away with anything unless it was some kind of rebellion by secret hideout against the powers that be. I always talk about the pay grade above me. But that was like a signal that these are not normal times, that things are not by the book, Lieutenant. As far as not just promoting, but announcing new series. The CBS All Access of 2017 would be having a heart attack if that's the way a new show was rolled out. Or at least the way Patrick Stewart did it when he walked out on that Trek Vegas stage when STLV was still licensed. Walked out and announced that Star Trek Picard was happening, and the internet melted down. That's exactly what the people that try to make the promotion campaigns, that's what they dream about, a moment like that. I mean, I'm being sarcastic, but that's all to the good of the show. You want eyeballs. You want to convince people. You want to turn people. And a coordinated effort. Sometimes it gets to be a little, I don't know, we use the word a little loosely now, so I won't say Nazi, but it gets a little strict on the playbook. Don't change the schedule. That's an old joke. It has nothing to do with topical events. And that is why this blip from a couple of weeks ago was so telling. And sometimes if you're ever into crisis management, PR, I mean, the word crisis takes on a lot of spectrum here, I know. But if you're ever sometimes the way you react to something going wrong, sometimes the only winning strategy solution for your goals is to go mum, to go silent. Now, sometimes, are we talking about people dying? We're talking about some governmental thing or a disaster or whatever, Soviets shutting up about Chernobyl, not the best strategy. People talking about what's in their best interest is going to cost them money or lives. Governmental services, that kind of thing, not the best interest. However, we're merely talking about entertainment here. There's a big picture where entertainment is very much a pocketbook issue. If you've got stock and what's going on with your corporation, that can very much be a personal issue besides just entertainment. But in this case, we're still talking about just a piece of entertainment. So going crickets, going quiet is a strategy that may fit what you're trying to be. In fact, the whole thing, do you remember this? My mind flitted back. Oh my gosh, I was just checking on this. It was 5 years ago. Alex was growing the empire of the new Star Trek buffet. We knew about Lower Decks. He mentioned in some place somewhere that there would be a second animated series. And lo and behold, there's this random Wall Street Journal story talking about Picard and Patrick Stewart and the return. And in just a throwaway background paragraph, they mentioned that this is in addition to Star Trek Lower Decks is coming and Star Trek Prodigy that's coming. And people went, well, what? A throwaway reference in the Wall Street Journal story announces the name of that other show as Star Trek Prodigy, which it was supposed to be about kids. Prodigy makes sense. It's in the ballpark. I think somewhere people were actually looking up patent and trademark filings too. What did we get? Crickets. No one else in the press ever picked up, no one jumped in. I mean, a couple of fan-based media sites jumped in and went, oh, they're saying the new show is called Prodigy. Now, that was January. By July, here comes the announcement, like on the eve of Comic-Con. So we're going to go back to the playbook. We're going to go back to the schedule and announce it when we intended to announce because of our program. It popped out, and those paying attention were like, that was the Wall Street Journal gang, not a fly-by-night. And it made sense. And maybe even most of all, no one pushed back. No one said, no, that is not the name of it. Sometimes, even if it's not the name of it, again, crickets, not to answer is to answer. And sometimes crickets is the best way, even if it was wrong, because if you talk about it, now you continue to talk about why you're talking about that it's being wrong, but you're not saying why it's wrong. So if you still want to hang on, you don't pop out and say, excuse me, we're making a statement that is not the title. Bye. Well, then you've just generated a whole wave of news where the only thing people can say is the studio has just announced that the name is not Jingle Fritz. Well, now you've repeated the wrong title again. I mean, this gets all into the theories and the modes of communication, much less journalism, much less PR and promotion and marketing. These are just the rules that you go by depending what the situation is. So no, back in 2019, was it? No one said a word about the real title. No one corrected it. No one confirmed it. And no one denied it. We can neither confirm nor deny. They just waited until the intended time came up. That's what came to mind this time. And, now we're much more concerned about the show and why there is no show. And if there is indeed any kind of future. I mean, we've got to the gist of the problem, the gist of the problem, the guts of it. The guts and the gist of a problem apparently is the gits. The gits of this situation is that popped up. A few people went, what? Because the source of the report was the Patent and Trademark Office. This is like what happens occasionally, despite the best efforts of promo and marketing and PR, to have that playbook. Because it's there for a reason. Somebody just didn't. I mean, there are reasons why certain things, the advantageousness of creating demand and surprise and awareness and commanding the arena and not overlapping something else and not stepping on other people's toes or your own toes, shooting yourself in the foot, whatever tortured metaphor you want. There's a reason for that. But occasionally things happen. Even something as innocuous as when is the new season going to shoot? Oh, bang. Somebody notices that in Toronto, there's a union call-up bulletin board. And even if there's a fake name given to the production, especially if it's new, there's a union bulletin board. Or there's a rental stage agreement where the thing is entered in. And somebody happens to be scanning and says, oh, Star Trek something? Or, even better, the name is totally fake, but you see the collection of producers who are listed. And you go, there's only one show they're working on right now. When the right person is savvy, just like any good reporter, you cover a beat, you cover an area, it's not just that you know people, you know systems, you know processes, you know the things you check. Every once in a while, something sparks and you start putting one and one and one together. And you don't need the official announcement from the official spokesman. You see the guts of the real world turning. You see the gears turning. Hopefully the guts aren't turning. And you put it together that way. We've seen that again. That's how we found out about Picard shooting in California, because the California state tax, remember this? California state tax thing announces the tax credits that they're going to be receiving, who all got them, and public notice, and one of them was the Star Trek Picard series. So sometimes those third parties, they're not caught up in maintaining it. They're just doing their jobs. They're not invested in protecting the sanctity of the PR splash. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't hurt, I'm just saying that. So apparently the patent and trademark, could this be, the name different? I don't know. But the thing again that caught my eye is, and here's where we're going to pivot, kids. If you saw this and thought it was fake because it was talking about YouTube, au contraire. Everything connected to Star Trek franchise, everything connected, thought we were being so clever to get to Nickelodeon for Prodigy, right? Oh, including me. Oh, look, it'll get out of Nickelodeon. It's still a pay channel, cable and linear even, but it's in so many more homes. It'll bust out of what little box CBS All Access had. The kids will get to see this and grow up with it. That was the idea. And even when it went over to Netflix, it was, Netflix will have a lot more subscribers. There'll be millions more potential eyeballs for this. Yay. Okay, well, we know how this has turned out. It's just gotten lost in the ether. It's just lost in the millions of other series there and didn't get its share of promotion. And we can the die is cast there if we're going to say Prodigy on down the line. But my point here is there's been a little bit of an attempt to break out of the old box to get shows to new eyeballs, especially apparently when it comes to the kids. Now, I love her to pieces, and I love sitting down and watching Prodigy with Cadet Alice, my granddaughter, who, when we started this, she was 5, nearly 6, and she just turned 9. Well, that's a sea change in how fast kids are growing up. But the last year or so, when she's been allowed to have, parental controlled pad finally, she's on her YouTube shows all the time. And yes, we all make an effort to get her up and get going and be active and not sit with a pad, not sit with a screen all day long. She'll have her whole life to do that. But it is a trend. It's a reality that kids, hopefully with some structure, hopefully with some guidance, but yay or nay, hopefully they've at least had parental controls set. But yay or nay, that's the venue of choice. As much as a Gen Zer is living on TikTok, the little kids are watching YouTube, watching what they want to watch. Made all the sense in the world to me to aim a trial run. Supposedly it was 6 episodes, trial run pilot for YouTube. Now, how much can that cost? It's a very smart decision for targeting, but also it's a smart decision on it's like producing a pilot, only less, right? Now hopefully you're going to spend some money. You're going to make it look decent and have it be written well, or else you're kind of blowing the chance to grab eyeballs and grab little fresh minds with the Star Trek outlook, right? I mean, we had a great track record with Lower Decks and Prodigy. Surprised a lot of people. I would like to think that whoever the still unannounced showrunner, pilot runner is for this project creator. But what also makes sense here, besides the YouTube, and here's where we pivot again, is right now, look around you. Why is there not more Star Trek news happening? We've hit a lot of projects put in motion. They're either at dead ends or they're on momentum. Now, look, I seriously don't think anything is going to happen with Section 31. What about the format? The made-for-TV version of today, made-for-TV movie. It's crickets on that. Not even idea. I'm sure there's ideas on a list somewhere at Bad Robot, at Secret Hideout. No one's talking about it. Now, here's the dominoes, gang. Yes, Alex Kurtzman's contract, this multi-year contract, the current one is up at the end of next year. A lot of people, decisions are being held off until the future of that is made. Lots of fans out there would love to see Alex gone. It would take away, not the established series that are already out there to see. As far as I know, it's crazy days when tax laws make you take away a series, but it would just be for going forward. But that also affects what's happening right now if it's not contracted. And that includes Strange New Worlds. They've finished the 4th season filming it. We're about to see the 3rd. Could be. We're in the middle of filming Academy's 2nd season. No one has seen anything yet. It got a 2nd season order without an audience reaction, just the in-house reaction. Beyond that, there's nothing on the books. Tawny's sitcom is still not greenlit. I'm amazed we're talking about it in public, but there it is. Other than that, there's nothing going forward. Is that because Alex Kurtzman's a mean person? No, it's a very normal reaction to his contract being on the bubble. But why is it especially on the bubble? Kids, current Star Trek by anyone is on the bubble. Streaming is being reinvented. It's a pivotal time. I've talked about this. The big picture going on here, and I can think of no time in the past of all the Star Trek, various kinds of soap operas. And the various soap operas where the drama was not coming from the Star Trek world itself, but from beyond, the greater world around it. And that's happening right now. It's happening because of, it's already been a soap opera, it's already been a drama, the Ellison Skydance merger with Paramount. And here's where you say, can I just shut out the outside world and just enjoy my Star Trek? And of course you can. You've got all your legacy. I should have asked Adam this. So just because they're done, are Discovery and Picard now and Lower Decks, are they legacy shows too, or do we have a different name? He calls those the franchise shows, although the early ones were. Where are we? Where are we? We're here where we are. There's no new real. Why do we not have a movie? Why do we not have the movies that were talked about last year that people were starting to wrap their heads around? A not J.J. Kelvinverse movie, but an Origins movie set in Prime about the time I thought, okay, it's going to be so early. It'll be like the Andor of Star Trek. It'll be so early in the getting to the Vulcans, just after the Vulcans process, that it may have elbow room not to mess up the canon for the other eras, the way people were upset about Discovery first season's doing. That was supposed to be, that was on the board and on the books. It's totally gone away. Totally gone away. Did not have enough internal momentum to escape. We're basically in the big freeze. We're in the franchise freeze right now. And we're not, what happens to Alex and Secret Hideout and their relationship to running Star Trek? That's just one part of it. That's not the end all be all. The big part of it is what's going to happen to Paramount. And I would say a subset of that is, which is not driven by anything other than just the culture's got to stumble along, is what's going to happen with the whole streaming model. But the people who would be reacting to that and making decisions, and in this case, what's going to happen to Paramount Plus? And we were getting signals that Ellison with Skydance wanted to not spin it off or sell it or merge it, but maybe bundle it and keep it intact and have partnerships, but keep it intact. But no one's going to make a decision about that until the big merger, remarriage, but it's not technically a remarriage. I can't keep saying that. The buyout, the purchase, the merger. What's holding up this thing that was settled last or months ago? There you go. Bingo. Politics. And something as wacky. Well, here's where you get in trouble. The 70s and 80s and the 80s, 90s models was, oh, let's have a publisher. We're going to be a media company. So here's our movie studio, our TV network, our book publishing company, and all of our cable channels. And that's how you got Viacom, right? And then you have the, oh, this is too big for us. You lost the triad. And then when it was Moonves and the other guy running Paramount, they thought they needed their own fiefdoms. And so we had the Viacom divorce. Okay. Here's where that strategy of owning one of everything to be a media company bites you in the butt, because totally unrelated to the movies, totally unrelated to the TV, Trump has picked a fight with CBS News Division. What does the news division have to do with Star Trek, aside from having a journalist come over and do a story hopefully when they can? Well, it's over this edited Kamala Harris thing. Any journalism professor, legal experts saying it's a, I'll just say it, it's a Trump nuisance suit just to get just for the power, for the show. In a normal world, there would be nothing to it. A judge would dismiss it. But they have the leverage on poor Sherry Redstone, is desperately trying to get her family-owned company out of debt by pulling off this sale that everybody thought was a done deal. But as any kind of big merger, they have to get FCC and FTC trade approval for it, especially FCC. And and now with the majority of the FCC being Republicans and Trump appointees, they can politically hold it up. They can shake down Sherry to hold up the sale that her family desperately needs to get out of the debt. This is money. Nobody cares about what we Star Trek fans think. But this drama has been dragging out and dragging out and dragging out. If it was anything, and people now are protesting on principle. Don't give in. Don't give in. This should be settled a certain way. But Sherry just wants it. She doesn't care about the legal precedent or the principle. Sherry Redstone and her family just want to get out with the deal they can without going under. And the other thing is, if it did happen, the studio would be crippled. They've been gearing for 2 years. This upscale, downscale, who's got a job, who's out of a job, cut 3,000 jobs a year ago. So many of the folks that were working in all different areas, some of you who were involved in the DVD upgrade, the up-resing of Voyager and DS9, the company just sold off. And you get into this with the Void. See, it's amazing how insidious this is. How many different little fingers of the Star Trek headlines and drama we're dealing with all go back to this domino effect of no merger, everything is frozen, nobody makes a decision, nobody sure as hell spends money, and in fact, we're making cuts. So boom, over here, the movie that some people were waiting for is held up because who's running the movie division? Boom, we know now that thanks to Dave Zappone talking over at the Voyager documentary, the up-resed HD had to be done more by AI than actually going back to the original elements, because the entire process, the actual tech and machinery, Paramount has sold off. The same thing that was done with the same thing on the DS9 dock, much less the older upgrading projects. That was sold off to raise some cash. I mean, who's going to greenlight Tawny's show and commit spending? It's not just, oh, let's do that one. When you say, oh, let's do that, you're also talking about the money you're going to spend, how much you're going to spend per episode, who's going to pick the showrunners, and yeah, who's going to renew or not renew Alex's contract. Who's got that? It's amazing that for the first time that I can think about, and you know what, for the first time maybe since Star Trek VI was held up, if you read Nick Meyer's book, the head of Paramount Pictures Studio, mainly movie and TV, turned over a couple of times during Star Trek VI. It's a miracle that Star Trek VI was ever made, as much as we look back on, oh, the signatures for the finale for the actors. It's amazing how that happened at all. And Nick's book is a great explainer for this, because he was right there on the front row. He was trying to get, what, 5 million more, $500,000 more on his budget, and they were going to wipe the movie over that. And then the people he was haggling with were gone. And anyway, the new people came in. So, well, of course, we need to give them one more film send off, and we can get something out of it, right? Nobody does anything for free. Of course, they deserve a movie means, of course, they deserve a movie, and we're pretty safe. That's a good bet on box office, right? I don't know of a time since then that the outside world has affected the future of Trek as it is right now. And we're all just stuck waiting. There was a commercial ages ago for some refrigerator, and it's the dinner party sitting around the table waiting for ice, and nobody had any ice because the Iceman was late, because the people that owned the place didn't have, or refused, or it was on the blink, didn't have a freezer and an ice maker. And the matriarch of the thing, maybe it was set in the 1920s, the matriarch is saying, he's not going to come. I just know he's not going to come. And it was all about the ice for the dinner party. When is this going to resolve? Is Sherry going to settle and bring down the wrath of the legal and journalism world because they've caved in on this thing that should never have been caved on, just to get the go-ahead? And if they do cave, will there be something capricious and they still hold up, or even, God forbid, deny it, no matter what they do? It's gotten to the point where now some senators have jumped in and said, if you make that settlement, you could be accused of paying a bribe, Sherry Redstone, because it would be a quid quo pro, and drag through the courts and spend even more lawyer money and delay all this. And then with a delay, when does David Ellison say finally, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Fine, I'm taking my toys and go. Is he so dedicated? Are they so dedicated that they will put, that's what's going on here. Nice studio you got there. Be a shame if something happened to it. Shakedown. So you may fall on one side or the other of the politics. You may run screaming from the room just because the P word is being mentioned and all you wanted to do was watch Star Trek. You might have thought this was all about the new movie. And you don't care about these movies. You'll believe them when you see them, number one. And you'll talk about it when that happens. But for right now, I'm just going to go back and watch my DS9s. Thank you very much. Or even your Lower Decks. Or even your Discoveries. The current series have momentum for a season or two at least. But yeah, it's not just who's going to be making Star Trek. It's going to be who's making the decisions. Who's going to be reacting to whatever the hell is happening with streaming and if it still makes sense or not. And who to bundle and who to merge with. Who to make level your merchandise and your toys. Just major promotions. Everything is on pause and on hold, waiting for the thing that has been on pause and hold for now for months. And just about the time you think you see the light at the end of the tunnel for this corporate drag out, now it's escalated from the corporate boardroom to Washington, D.C. And all you wanted to do was just watch your Star Trek and know what was going on. So, yeah, in a situation like right now, committing a little bit of money to develop a YouTube show is smart, but it feels like $1 billion bold step. It feels like it's a pretty ballsy. That should have been a blip on the radar. So are we going to hear about in 4 or 5 or 6 months? Is somebody going to own? Is this going to be a summer convention announcement from Comic-Con? Echoing what happened with Prodigy 5, 6 years ago? We'll see. We'll see. But when you see that little news story fly by and you go, oh, this is rumor, this is fake news. Or you think, I wonder. The different aspects of it make sense. Just like that little leak of a Star Trek Prodigy name that no one ever talked about immediately, even though it was sourced, apparently legitimate. Everybody immediately stopped talking about it. We'll see. We'll see. Both from a YouTube perspective and also from a somebody looked around the office, found some chump change in the drawer, and said, okay, here's something we can do. Nobody make a big decision. Nobody's entitled to make a big decision, but maybe we can spend a little money over here and do this and get into a market that we should be doing. It'll be the next thing. Who knows? But right now, we are still like 6 weeks away from that Strange New Worlds. We're getting into con season, and I guess we'll just ride this sucker and see what happens. What do you think, huh? Okay, I'm going to take a mini break here, and then I will dive in the chat, see if I've stirred anything up today. And also, if you're watching us later on YouTube, let's see what you think about this. Now, come on. You're totally, I know you got the opinions out there. We can stir up the YouTube column too here with the comments on this. So many people are stuck to see what's going to happen with the next Star Trek. Because what kind of position, if you're actually trying to save Prodigy, if you're actually trying to repurpose the Lower Decks characters, who has the authority to do that now? Well, Alex is waiting. You would think Alex would still has a production company. You know, like Desi Lu bought Gene's idea, but they still had to get NBC to buy it, right? It's a 2-step process. You got to get it's like you got to find an agent to rep you, but then you still have to find a studio or a publisher. It's a 2-step process most of the time. So who's going to greenlight Alex to greenlight anything? And if somebody else is, what happens, Lord help us, what I thought we would never see again, but what if the combination of politics and economics and inertia, lack of momentum, leaves us with something I swore we'd never see again after the 12-year fallow period? What if we actually have no one in charge, and no one in charge of them is undistracted enough to have anybody running Star Trek with a dedicated mission to do so with the franchise? You would think the people that appreciate money in this world would know enough not to have some kind of Star Trek out there bringing in money, unless they say, right now, the streaming and the DVDs, the merch, that's enough right now. Let's just let this rest. If you're going to let that kind of thinking take over again, then apparently we haven't learned much from the last 20 years. But then you might be saying that about a lot of things these days. All right. That's what we're breaking. Yeah, YouTubers, if you're watching later, make sure and leave a comment. Everybody else here live, I'm going to get back to the chat in just a second. I did want to tell you about a couple things. This week, I'm going to jump in, first of all, and thank all of our Patreon folks here. Thank you in the TTL Club to Chuck A., James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Hubbard Gunn Johnson, Lawrence Todd, Greg Wickstrom, Mitch Keith, Andrew Jazimski, Justin Weir, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, Chris Jiggins, Keith Rombach, and Comedy Forecast. And our live wires, yes, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Chris Garris, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Gary Williams, James Durovich, Dave Gregory, Dan Leckie, and Casey Shafsky. Everybody, they're all helping out on one of two levels. You can too. It's the end of the month. Jump in as fast as you can if you want to help us starting next month. It's $5 and $10. It's pretty simple. I've just found out, $10 live wires, that there's a problem with the link. When I finally got you a batch of early Portal 47 interviews, behind the scenes creatives, people most of the time never heard from it everywhere else. That's what Portal's all about. But here, that's a perk for these folks. I have to get you individual links because the group link doesn't work. I will get on it, though. We'll get on it, okay? If you want to jump in with this great group of supporters helping us do things here, patreon.com/Trekland Live. I much, much, much appreciate it. Yes, you can still do the baby steps thing, which is throw in on a super chat here. That'd be the next rise up. It's also getting into summer. We're ramping up. I've already had tours scheduling. It's a treklandtours.com, treklandtreks.com, excuse me. Your customized, personalized away mission in person somewhere across Southern California. I help you plan it. We maximize the enjoyment for your real life away mission. And then I concierge you around and handle everything. There's a lunch in there too. That's great. And it's Tuesday, which means it's a Trek Files, a new one. Guys, this has been such an awesome season for the Trek Files. The new one out today is with none other than Bruce Horak. Yes, Hemmer from the first season of Discovery, Henner, the ANR engineer. And he has a crowdfunder about, you have to go see it. He's doing a crowdfunder he's talking to people with disabilities who have performed and gone into the arts, different people who have enjoyed their lives, like himself. He's basically legally blind. He's passing for sighted. It's an amazing thing. He's our guest. We go back and look at the roots of, two on the nose, Geordie LaForge in Next Generation. He's our guest. We pull out a document for this week's Trek Files. We're so happy to have Bruce with us, and also happy to get the word out, as you're probably seeing elsewhere, about his crowdfunder. So check out the Trek Files this week. We have such a great wrap-up coming. Mike Demerit's been a great guest. We recorded our finale Friday. You may have seen some of my socials. Yeah. Jonathan's going to be our finale guest. We had a hoot on an anniversary that maybe some of you are overlooking. Well, we're going to shine a light on that anniversary for our finale. And in between that, we got the great Ben Robinson coming up. So there, I said it. And then we're going to start season 14 off with a bang already. We've already got that planned, but I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off. So if you have not done so, check out the Trek Files. And separate from my Patreon, thank you all very much for being members, to get in on the live show every 2 weeks for Trekophiles. Trekophiles Tonight, spelled with an F. You can join the Roddenberry Discord, the Mission Log Discord, Patreon, $1 a month, $1 a month. And in the Mission Log Patreon, you get access to all the Roddenberry shows, including the Trekophiles live talk every other Monday at 4 Pacific. And you can comment on all the shows. You can jump in on the other live shows too. There's a lot of live shows on the Mission Log Discord that don't have a podcast. They're just some fan wants to have a topic, and they're getting kind of diverse. They're getting kind of interesting. So you might want to check that out. Hope you do. But I'd love to see a lot of you jump in there. Again, it's $1 a month, and you get into all the Roddenberry lives as well as the message boards, not just the Trek Files. But appreciate that. Appreciate that. At the same time, our friend Neville Page is having a Kickstarter crowdfunder, which means he has to make his goal. He's got this wonderful coffee table book out called Beauty in the Beast. It's not just about his alien and creature creations, but the whole creative process, how he thinks. It's a beautiful planned book. It's not too late to jump over and get in on his Kickstarter. We'll get the links there. But if you look up Neville Page Kickstarter and Bruce Horak crowdfunder, you can catch up on all of these too. Alrighty. It's going to do it for us. If you're looking for me elsewhere, I'm Larry Nemechek on the Twitter, I still call it Twitter. I'm still an optimist. And Blue Sky is where a lot of the Twitter refugees went to. But it's Larry's Trekland on Instagram and Facebook. And yes, here on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Portal 47, just jump in and join the Portales if you enjoy deep diving Star Trek. If you suspect you might be one of the Star Trek fans who have no idea how much Star Trek you still have no idea about, you got to join us in the portal. All right, that's going to do it. If you're live with me, hang on. But I'm saying bye-bye to all the YouTubers now. And of course, I'm also saying stay healthy, do all the things, stay awoke, pay attention, check the sources, and trek well, everybody. Okay, got to take a breather after that one. You start off with a random news story and you wind up with, sadly, DC politics. That's the world we live in. We've been saying for 2 years why things seem to be stuck in, swimming through mud, running through molasses. Or is it running through mud, swimming in molasses? With all these major decisions of Star Trek, and now the dominoes kind of fall into place. No, they don't fall. They're still standing. I wish those dominoes would fall, at least and go in one direction. So, how is everybody? Did I lay too much on you? Yeah. If you've not heard the Trek Files this week, it's Bruce is great. He talks a little bit about his life. He talks about watching LeVar play Geordi as a kid because he grew up as a Trek fan and was thrilled to get the role. And even though he was hired knowing that Hemmer was not, spoilers, that Hemmer was not going to live past the first season, but to be an Enar and all of that. We talked about the Hemmer dynamic and the Hemmer Geordi dynamic a little bit. And of course, we talked about what's behind his documentary that he's shooting with his crowdfunder. Good to see everybody, though. Let's back needle here. Appreciate everybody and their great comments. Oh, I didn't mention R.I.P. Peter David also. I'm going to have to do that later on. I met Peter David once. Here's my problem, gang. Peter David's a giant for Star Trek. Even though he's only in the book field, still had an influence on everybody, an impact on everyone. We met once when we were adjoining tables, I think at Comic-Con. I was digging out for photos. If I saw him in a moment of calm, I know that we have a selfie somewhere. But you remember, I was never a big book reader after the first few years because it would pollute my brain with the canon from the shows, and it would get hard at times to remember what was what. I remember thinking this before things were so digitized and data based, and now we have memory beta to help with that. But I was totally aware of the impact, whether it was his TNG books like Vendetta and Imzadi and the Q book, or whether it was his Excalibur series in a time when you thought you'd never hear anything from these characters again. And just some of the choices he was trying to make and add to the canon. Something that our guest last week, Adam Costco, was talking about in those fallow years, the role the books played. Not, of their own as literature, but as filling a hole in the Trek universe for fan passion in the years where nobody was giving you anything on screen. So yes, R.I.P. Peter David. I mean, his health had been in decline for a while, but it's still one of those landmark moments when you stop and remember the contributions of people, so many people, so much from Peter, and he just filled so many folks, so many Trek fans' lives with Trek that they adored and loved, and still affecting in insidious ways, even not just fans, but the makers of Trek today. You can't help but. If you were a fan and you grew up with the 90s and the aughts material, and now you have a shot at writing, hopefully you still have a shot at writing future Trek, you can't deny the impact that's had on everyone. So yes, R.I.P. Peter. Makes you stop and think of the impact people can have, huh? So I'm right there with you, Carl. I'm what is it? Oh, the Let's Fly. Yeah. I had a few more of those from like 15 years ago Comic-Cons, and I thought, I don't need these. I actually put them in a little auction somewhere and whatever. But it's always back there. In fact, I wound up with 2 or 3. That was at that last Discovery premiere. Well, they used them through the year. They had some at Comic-Con, but they also had some at that last preview screening in Beverly Hills at that public center. And they were passing them out. And then at the end, it was kind of like a ho-hum, and they had tons of those. I think I wound up grabbing 3 or 4, just, for prizes and things. I think there's a third one floating around somewhere. Good to see. Good to see. Yes. Good advice here, Ma. Good advice always. Yeah. My figure, go figure. I don't know how it could not be a success. It's the right strategy. I hadn't really thought about it, but the moment I saw YouTube, it clicked. I could see Alice watching her YouTube show, and this would be Star Trek, not screaming craft makers or whatever that she gets attracted to. This would be Star Trek. That whole generation is consuming through YouTube. It's going to hopscotch the intention of 5 years ago with Prodigy going to Netflix or going to Nickelodeon. It totally hopscotches that strategy. Yeah. I'm obviously not blown people away yet. Oh, FedCon is this weekend. Thank you, Christoph. So Trek Long Island and FedCon are the same. Yeah. It's easy to binge watch a whole series when they're half hours and there's 10 of them. So there. Well, we'll have to have a report. I have to hear all about FedCon here and or at our European Ask Dr. Trek, right? Hey, Brandon, hi to you from the Kentucky Hills. Yay. Is the blip legit? Looking for ghosts. Sean, did I wonder what happened to the captain's chair from TNG? Big question. Where did I find to hide it? No, that turned up recently, didn't it? Didn't that make news out of some? It was because it was like about 6 months after the whole kerfluffle over the 3-foot Enterprise that was found in the storage unit. But this was the chair that turned up. Whoever had stolen it, and they think it had to be an inside job, either directly inside or insider help. But yeah, the chair stolen from 94 that they then had to rebuild in 3 because they were about to shoot Generations. And it was still the same bridge set with the additions, but the chairs were the same. I thought didn't that pop out? Did somebody else answer this? When have I turned into a robot? Well, hopefully never. Oh, hi, Rose. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Top chat. Da, 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 da. Yes, indeed. Just saying hi to everybody. Hi, Joel, and hi, May. Just for fun, you don't think Star Trek Legacy has already been copyright? There's got to be trademarked. There's got to be 40 or 50 titles like that they've, because if it's just a filing, if it's like through $100, how much does it cost to file for a trademark? $100? I don't know. Somebody should get on that and see. Oh yes, Dan, I'm totally forgetting about the stepchild of all of this. Poor Star Trek Con, or whatever they're calling it now. Yes, the Once Upon a Time miniseries downgraded to podcast, taken from its original creator, and now apparently someone's been recast. Did I hear that in the news? Yes, that's how that leaked too. Thank you. I didn't mention it either way, coming or going. That's also in the mix of things that apparently has some momentum to be finished. Not exactly a big budget for an audio drama compared to everything else. It's like when they weren't allowed to call the Defiant the Valiant. Sometimes silence can be deafening. Well, no, allowed to. The Valiant, I think, was Ron's initial name, and then somebody decided that they should make it the Defiant. They wanted something stronger for the tone of the series and the tone of the episode. So lots of things get changed. That's what gives me a job, if you want to call it a job, tracking the what ifs and the roads not taken. It's just the fact that that John Eves sketch got out with Valiant on it, and people are like, "Oh, see." Yeah. So then they use use the Valiant for the other name. Maybe it was a Jim Martin sketch. I don't know. Sydney, hi. Glad you were home safe and sound and everything. Trek reviewer, hi. I know you've been with us before, but it feels like it's been a while. Sean reminds you of Disney losing out on $1 billion worth of Grogu merch. They didn't trust the factory, so they didn't make any merch for sale until the hype was over. Well, yes. It's amazing because I have another Disney story further back. Do you remember the first year of Toy Story? They had toys of all the straight animal, all the evil kid next door, all of his misshapen toys. People wanted those. They wanted the doll head on the spider legs. And people were like, why didn't you make these? And of course, the goodies at Disney weren't thinking about it. Of course, no one knew how big a hit it would be, right? Or what would hit with the public. It's a guessing game. And, making molds for all those toys, those items, numbers, whatever, that takes a year and a half of investment and time and process. And it's a kind of a crapshoot sometimes. But I remember talking about the big fail that year being that they didn't have the Misfit toys weren't available. So it's the same kind of thing. Yeah. Sometimes there's oversight, not oversight as I'm overseeing. Sometimes there's just, you missed the boat. Sometimes it's a calculated choice and you took the wrong choice. And then sometimes you're just deer in the headlights because you didn't think about it. Right. Yeah, Sherry. Hey, I didn't enjoy bringing all that up, but that's the reality right now. What are you saying, Dan? It was funny how in a Star Trek magazine interview during the first season of Disco, Jonathan Frakes seemingly accidentally leaked that the show was going to feature the mirror universe later that season. Was that in an interview or was that live on stage? Yeah, that's why he came up with that. Don't ask me. I just signed an NDA. And that came up the other day. We were recording Trek Files. And we were laughing about, okay, who's NDA'd and who's not. Mm-hmm. Oh, there you go, Rose. 52 days or 7 weeks by Thursday till Strange New. Yes. So, still Nick Jr. Yes, I left that out. Nick Jr. on YouTube, on the Nick Jr. YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. Dan, regarding undeveloped animated series, would you like to have seen the Final Frontier show that Dave Rossi was involved in pitching? Of course I would have liked to have seen it. Although there's an awful lot of the elements of that feel like they wound up being part of season 4 Discovery with the DMA and something causing rifts and you're trying to figure out who to blame and it's something you've never seen before. That was the essence of Final Frontier. Yeah. Plus, we would know Dave, and it'd be awesome to see him have showrunner power and creativity and the team that they'd put together. Of course, I would have liked to have seen it. Yeah. I felt badly because it felt like some of that tone and that future, we're in the future, which is what it did. It leaped ahead 200-300 years for some elbow room and some new, let's take everything we know and turn it upside down, which is what Discovery wound up doing when they finally realized they could do that. People were really interested to see what Trill and Earth and Vulcan and Romulus look like now, and many more they didn't get to. Looking at you, Kronos. Yeah. You're counting the nanoseconds down. Down to Strange New. Yeah, Wanda, that's basically it. But it's like, how many levels of things are on hold? And then why is the merger really dragging out? It's another level above that. That's it. Boy, I wish, Joel. Franchise freeze. What will get us to the thaw? Oh no, Christoph. Lord X has fallen so far down the list, your P Plus TV app doesn't even show it in the Star Trek section. I hope it won't vanish from P Plus. That would be a monumentally stupid business decision. I'm just sorry. I'm just soul. It would it would definitely be a shakedown. Yeah. Hey, comedy. Yeah, and who could have seen that 2 years ago when it was all of its own drama, that it would wind up a part of presidential politics? This is ridiculous. Good plan, Wanda, although you're still going to have an awful weight on that Academy end of things. Yeah. Money. Yeah, money. And yes, money was also why Picard didn't have the season 1 and 2 characters. And then you add in the reason that Picard was costing so much more to make than anything in Toronto because of the difference in scale prices. Got told at one point that an LA Star Trek, same 10 episodes, same basic scale and approach, 10 episodes of streaming Star Trek cost about 4 times more to make in LA than in Toronto. Yeah. I think that was part of the joke. Did I miss that? Yeah. I'll always remember that. You know, his line, you know, that's one spicy meatball, you know, and let's let Mikey eat anything. One of those commercials that sticks in your head, and I can see that woman in my mind's eye to this day. He's not going to come. I just know he's not going to come. Yes, Joel. Exactly. Exactly. Or many other conventions. Yeah. Thank you, Dwight, from across the river. I've been reading stories about Americans going over to Canada to shop or just to say, please don't hate us. Please don't hate us. Yes. And thank you for still showing up here. Absolutely, Joel. Absolutely. Okay, good. We're talking about lower decks being on the app and all. Okay. Sure hope there's no leaks about Starbase 80 in the new Universal Park. Yeah, that would be funny. Starbase 80? Yeah. Absolutely, Christian. Yeah, here we go. Everybody talking about. Yeah, I'm intellectually honoring Peter because I didn't read the books and I didn't know him personally, aside from a couple of brief conversations. So I'm not going to emote about something and be hollow and fake about it. But I am well aware intellectually of the position he held in the book franchise, in the franchise, in the hearts and minds and memories and, you know, nostalgia of so many fans. And you guys are speaking to that right now. Yep. This is what I thought. Thank you, my figure. I mean, yeah, 30 years later. Hey, Pedro, I am fine. Oh, hi, Judy. You know what? This should be on my list. I need to get on with this and do some research and a little mini interview and find out, check the sources and find out how that was. Yeah, but did it have a colon or not have a colon? Is it on a trademark that's a copyright that's ended, like limited time? Hey, Sherry. Not that I'm aware of, which seems impossible. I know. What, there has to be only like 7 Nemecheks in the whole country. Well, no, my God, my grandfather had 7 brothers. To start with, 100 years ago, there were 8 Nemechek brothers in central Oklahoma. And but there were Nemecheks in Nebraska, and apparently there were Nemecheks already back east. So, and I remember when the Nemechek race car, everybody assumed that we had to be related. And I didn't, maybe through some branch that you have to go back not 18 generations. You have to go back 4 or 5 or 6 generations to see. Maybe something digital if I wanted to go in and spend a lot of money and track. But to my knowledge, no. Although it seems like at some point you go far enough back, or fur enough back if you're Southern enough, apparently. It's a perfectly fine non-Star Trek question. Wait, what? Peter David passing away, which I understand is why is he being canceled when he just died? You mean people are upset with something he wrote? Oh. Deep elevations. Thank you. Doing research on the fly. And is this your first time with us or speaking up? It's nice to have you here. Okay. Or it costs $250 to $500. Carl, maybe you've got an older system. Maybe you're seeing older pricing. A lot of things just went up in the last year. What's happening with Peter David? All I've seen is everybody praising, from fellow authors to fans. Is that happening somewhere? I hate to, propagate this if it's nothing to it. Oh, that's right. Yeah, May 26th. Your birthday is the meaning of all life. Well, I've said that for years, P. Well, Dan, this is like the $60 question, or 60th anniversary. Yeah. That's kind of underlying a lot of this. How can you do a big splash for now? The 60th isn't as sexy as the 50th, right? It's not as universal, but sure. How can you do something? How can you even do like material, promotional stuff? Go out and seek out all new licenses, strange new licenses. How can you have like even non-screen 60th celebrations, events, stuff to do at the big cons, events, that kind of thing? A big, spend money on promotional material, fun stuff, sidebars. Who's going to take charge of that? There's a certain amount you can do on the cheap, which is how the 50th started, if you remember. And then came all the hoo-ha announcement. Yeah, right before the 50th, right? CBS All Access with a Star Trek was announced, 3 days before or 3 days after Thanksgiving, 2015. So in time for 2016, there were all these throw together 50th anniversary things. A few had been put in place beforehand, but yep. So Dan, who knows? And don't call me Shirley. Well, Sherry, I know what you mean. A lot of people are having to pace themselves. Find some sanity, find some mental health time, however you can, and just pace yourself. Don't go into a cave, but don't doom scroll either. Yeah. One day after Towel Day. Now, when I'm doing my Hitchhikers podcast, and we have Hitchhikers Day, I let it get by me yesterday. I've been a little distracted. But hi, Judy. Good to see you again. I love the fact that the highlight of your Trex Day was going to Tapestry Rock from Mintaco 4. Yeah. That's fine. You ask right away, Ma. That's the kind of question that's always. You don't speak NASCAR, just conversation. You have broken NASCAR, pigeon NASCAR. Is that what you do? Well, true, Christoph. True. Oh, you guys. Okay. No colon on Star Trek Legacy game. So, there you go. See, you learned something. See how educational. See how educational Trekland Tuesdays Live is. Good to know it. Good to have you. Awesome. I mean, I could ask you just how far down do those elevations go, but you would just say deep, and then that would be the end of it, right? Judy, the Enterprise D at Universal was great, but it was a bit rushed. Oh, I haven't heard your report because you went after our tour day. Rushed, huh? It would have been nice to have a little bit more time on the set. Respect they didn't want fans near the captain's chair and the consoles, but it would have been a real treat to look around more. Still lots of fun. Well, you could have. Was the line so long that going back through 2 and 3 times wasn't an option? That you wanted to either get everything else in, or it was just crazy? Which, if it was that long a line, then that's answering your question about, because you were there on the last Saturday with one more day to go, I believe, right? A comic book writer on Blue Sky apparently wasn't happy with David's comments at a convention and a previous personal interaction. What happened at the con was apparently controversial, but I haven't followed him as a person to be aware of all this drama. I just mainly knew that his health has not been good for the last year or two, and people have kind of basically been waiting, resigned to this moment. But I hadn't heard anything crazy. You may be distantly related to racer Jeremy Mayfield, also Baker Mayfield. Oh, excuse me, Melanie. You do know that Baker Mayfield, before he was the Tampa Bay quarterback, was OU's quarterback of amazingness. He's my favorite. Not that I had one, but he was such a revelation to me when he first came over. He was a walk-on. He'd been to Texas Tech or A&M Tech, I think. He was such a revelation, and just the way his mind and his attitude was as a gamer. They did a video of him gaming, and they put the game up on the plasma screen on the OU scoreboard, giant screen, and they did this video with somebody from anyway. I love that. My mind was blown. I was like, oh my God, this guy will be unstoppable. Because to me, it signified, and this was nearly 10 years ago, 8-9 years ago, when the overlap of sports and geekdom finally coalesced. Now, it was gaming, but that was as close as we're going to get. But he literally was competing, and it was a bellwether for thinking now about all the esports stadiums, which I've slowly had to get used to the concept. Because there was a time when people were shocked that anybody would pay money to pay for a ball player to play baseball, much less football. And ever since that video, my mind was blown, and I knew he would settle in the pros. Okay, enough sports ball here. But yeah, don't just slide Baker Mayfield by me. Now Baker is my favorite Sooner of all time, just because of, and I was happy to stand up for him when people thought he was being arrogant and all that. It was just, no, he's just celebrating on another level, and he's not hurting you. There's no hurt going on. Sherry, I know you mean for everybody else. You're talking about going back up into I keep calling it the Panhandle, the west end of North Carolina that was wiped out so badly 2 years ago, a year ago by the floods. And still so much to be done. It was just a place that was so dinky, you never thought that there would be flooding, but that's what made it so susceptible. All those narrow hooks and hollers, nooks and crannies, hollers and hills. Good point, Carl. He wouldn't have been at a con the last few years. Yeah. It seems that Restream gets me the YouTube comments way more delay than Facebook, or maybe your Facebook stream is behind. Oh, go Google yourself. Okay. Ma, when I was a kid, and the races would be on Wide World of Sports on ABC, you could always tell when football was gone because it was all that stuff all through the winter and spring that you didn't care about. But just someone who could sit there and watch cars go around. I was like, What? I know it's endurance, but it's like if you're not invested with the driver, I don't understand how somebody can be a fan. I mean, I say that knowing that people can be a fan of anything. They'll find a way. But to sit there and watch cars going around and around and around, I glazed over. But that's fine. That's fine. Staff was making sure people didn't linger. That's too bad. That's too bad. On the Paramount Studios tour, they listed Star Trek Into Darkness. You mean they listed it at a stage, or they just mentioned it? Because it didn't film. It was either at Sony or in Vancouver. I think it was at Sony mainly. Yeah. And do you feel fine, Crystal? Yeah. Well, he was just an author. Like the world is looking out for authors, unless they were very, very lucky. None of his books got to movies, and that's where the money is. So, like certain people I know that did book series that became mega hits, and now they're living off that. Much to many people's chagrin now. Oh, Chuck! Oh my God! I've got to. Yes, absolutely. I've got. It's almost June. It's almost June. The Hills and Hollers. Yep. Wait. No, Baker's not a nudist. A gamer. What? No, I did not mean to say Baker was a nudist. Oh, they had a colon. Yeah. No, the name of the movie STID. That's the acronym. It's not ID. That would have been too clever for the name of a Star Trek movie to coalesce down to the acronym of ID. But gang, I think that's going to do us for today. I hope I didn't take you down too much of a scary path there, but just so many ripple effects came out of sitting down and thinking about this little Star Trek Scouts. Yes, Nick Jr. to make it for their YouTube channel. Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for today. Again, gang, I want to thank all of our TTLers. Thank you so much. If you want to join them in supporting the channel, it's very easy. You can do more than this, of course, but it's just really $5 and $10 for the two levels. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. And it's summer season. Love to have you, like Judy, talking here. Yep. They did a Trekland Treks a week ago. Well, no, just last Thursday. No, a week ago Thursday. Yeah. Time flies. TreklandTreks.com. Check it out. And when you're headed to LA, we will see you. Open to do that within a couple of days of Comic-Con, if anyone's headed out for San Diego too, by the way, just to say. And please don't forget, yes, the Trek Files is up. You can find it anywhere fine podcasts are served. This week, it's Bruce Horak, who played Hemmer, talking about, well, his relationship with the character Geordi as a kid, but also his wonderful new his crowdfunder for his documentary. Check that out all together at the Trek Files. And yes, don't forget, get in for the $1 a month Mission Log Patreon, and you can come join us live at 4 p.m. Pacific every other Monday at our Trekophiles official meetup show there. Much less the boards all week long, much less all the Roddenberry boards week long. Gang, that's going to do it for me. You know where to find me on all the socials. Boom, Larry Nemechek on the spout offs, like Blue Sky, and Twitter. Larry's Trekland for Facebook and Instagram. A lot of fun stuff we do on Instagram, much less here on YouTube at portal47.net. Don't ever suffer the post-con blues when you can have a mini-con all year long, no matter where your center seat is, with portal47.com. I'm so good at saying all the taglines now that it's 10 years this year, guys. This year, Comic-Con will be San Diego, will be 10 years since I did the soft launch of Portal 47. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Do you know how much they charge per sheet of copy paper at the FedEx inside the convention center? It was $1 a sheet 10 years ago. Oh my God. Because they can. That's going to do it for us today, everybody. It's so good to see everybody. All of our new timers, our first timers, our unlurkers. Yes, Deep. I'm talking about you. Everybody else, have a wonderful Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of the internet shows and folks you enjoy. For the Portales, Rob Bowman is coming back for part 2. I've never had that happen before, but he wanted to talk. He wanted to do it at his pace, but he just couldn't do it 3 or 4 hours a couple weeks ago. So we're doing a part 2 on a different night with him. That'll be tomorrow night. But again, if you want to jump into Portal 47, you find out what all this talk is about. And as we head to con season and I look at SoonerCon coming up, you guys have fun and travel safe this weekend. Whether you're headed to Long Island, if you're going to FedCon, wherever in the world you may be, please, everybody, travel safe and stay healthy. Do all the things. Stay woke. Check the sources and trek well, everybody.